Hey everyone, it's me, Dreeks, and I'm going to be talking to you today about my new track out on Glamour label right now. It's called Always Be With You. I'm really thankful for Glamour label having me in their incredible catalogue of music. I'm a really big fan of Razmiel's new EP that came out on Glamour label. That's how I found out about them. Go check out the EP, it's amazing. And go check out more stuff on the label. I think they're incredible and I'm really grateful to be here giving you this masterclass today. Yeah, I'm just going to be showing you some tips and tricks on how I made this track. If you're a music producer or someone who's interested in production, hopefully I can give some good advice about how I make the sounds that I do. And yeah, let's go. Some things first. My name's Dreeks. That's my artist name. My name's Andy. Or Andrea. I'm from Cyprus, but born here in the UK. I'm currently trying to finish my master's degree at uni, which is a lot. And let's just say I'm not ever gonna do education ever again. But yeah, this track. When did I make this? I don't remember. I feel like I made this like 2 months ago. And it didn't take long for me to make. I think it took like a week, like a solid week of working on it, and it was basically done. And I showed this instrument, so this track's instrumental, right? And I showed it to my friend Mattia. Right now, me and him are making an album together. I'm producing, he's co-producing and also like singing on the whole album, writing the lyrics. And it's kind of, it's very great because A, we're making some really great music together that I'm really proud of, and it just sounds just really lovely. And B, this is also my project at uni, is talking about, online networking and collaboration and how we've been making music in a pandemic in 2 different countries, doing everything via internet and just researching glitch music and how to do interesting techniques that sort of remind us of, how miserable the world is. So I proposed this instrumental to Mattia and I was like, hey, oh, by the way, his artist name is MM. That's AIM : MM. So if you see an album in the future by him, I'm the guy producing it. And it'll be great, and it will sound fantastic because he's very talented, and I'm really happy working with him. Also, this Logic file looks very messy, doesn't it? I mean, 67 tracks. I don't always work like this, but like when I'm working with other artists, I'm a lot cleaner. This makes sense to me, but it's very stupid, and I understand that what I'm doing does not make any sense, but all of these synths here are all basically the same synth, but each one is slightly different to the last one. It might have different plugins on it. The actual timbre of it might be different. Now, rather than map that out with automation, which, as you can see, I could very clearly do that, I just duplicate. And it's just, when you're in the zone, sometimes what you're doing doesn't make sense, because really, from here to here, whatever the change was in timbre, I could have mapped it out with automation and have one instrument as opposed to 54. But, this is just what the Logic file looks like for now. I actually, when I proposed this instrumental to Mattia, he really liked this track. And I said, I'm thinking of releasing this as a single under my own name, which is what I've done. But how about we use certain elements of it to create our own track from it? This track is called Always Be With You. It's meant to be really beautiful and lovely and about all the friends I've missed during the pandemic and just all the people that I love that I wish I could be around all the time. And then I was like, what about if we make like the evil version, Never Be With You? Like it's like the opposite version, and we take certain instruments and drums and melodies from this track, but like invert them and make our own track. And so that's what we did. It's a track called Plus Jamais Sans Toi on this album that we're working on together. When it eventually comes out, you'll listen to it and go, oh yeah, there's certain melodies from this track that I can hear in that track, but it's a very different vibe. So yeah, that's just a bit of background on why I made this track in the first place. I do want to go through this track from start to finish chronologically, But the first thing I'll do is talk about how I even started with this track, because I find that the way I like start tracks is usually the same, and it's that I make my own drum settings, right? Most of the tracks I make, especially everything I've made recently this year, all the drums I've made from scratch. And the way I do that is by using a program called VCV Rack. It's right here. It's free, so you should totally go get it. It's brilliant. What it is a digital emulation of a Eurorack synthesizer. So like a modular synth, right, in your laptop. And it's sick, right? You've got like just all this freedom to do all these crazy things where you have all these individual modules and you're just connecting them and improvising. And what I like doing is creating a generative patch. Now, I wish I could show you what I do in VCV Rack, but my patches are so big that they crash my computer, and I don't think me having OBS open and Logic, and I think my computer will literally set itself on fire. Computer, laptop. But basically, in VCV Rack, I like making a generative patch, right? So I leave it on for 20 minutes, and it's just making its own music for 20 minutes, right? I'll have, in a lot of my patches, I'll have random noise that's outputting random voltages that are never the same. They're always slightly different. Inputting that into LFOs, and those LFOs are controlling the timbre, the reverb, the start time, the stop time. I'll have like an audio of a kick drum, right? Just a very simple kick drum. And all of these modules are just completely twisting it and mutating it in ways that are like, oh wow, this is crazy. So the first thing I ever did in this Logic file is make these sounds right here. So I let that patch go for 20 minutes of audio, and I go and do something else. I come back to my laptop and I go, right, what's happened? And because it's generative, because it's always changing and always developing, it's just so sick. You go through these 20 minutes of audio and go, oh, that sound right there, that would make a great snare. Or that sound right there, that would make a great kick. Or that would make a great uplifter, a great weird bubbly sound effect. So everything you're about to hear that I'm about to play now was made in VCV Rack from scratch. So here we go. That kind of like bubbly snare. Right, so if you want to hear another example of something that I did in VCV Rack, I have another single dropping this month called The Most Wonderful Sea Otter, because I really like sea otters. And the first 10 seconds of that track were entirely done in VCV Rack, and it's all these crazy bubbly sounds. And so if you like those sound effects and you're like, oh, how did you make them? Go download VCV Rack and just improvise, just connect stuff to other stuff. Maybe look up some YouTube tutorials, because that's what I did first. But I've been using it for a couple of years now, and it's at the point where I just, every time I use it, I make different sound effects, like sometimes really cool, sometimes really distorted, sometimes really crazy. But yeah, that's how I usually start my Logic tracks, is just, with trying to make my own sounds there. But of course, I do use a lot of presets as well. I'm not at all against presets. I have a good combination of stuff I've made entirely on my own and some cool presets as well, because sometimes they just sound nice, right? So let's now go from start to finish and go through this track and what I did and why I did it. So these synths here I made in EFM1. This is my favorite FM synthesizer to use. It's not the most advanced, and it's just the one that comes with Logic. I think there's actually two that come with Logic, but I only really use this one. I want to get to grips with some more complicated ones, but this is the one where I just know how to use it because I've been using it for so long. And I know how to make some really cool sounds with it. I wanted the track to start out with these kind of just plucky sounds. Another thing I like to do is I use this plugin, right? It's a free plugin. I use a lot of free plugins, as you can tell. It's called Audio Salt's Head Crusher Free. And this adds a really nice crunch to everything, right? You can use it to make some really distorted, crazy sounds. But I like using it just to add a little bit of crunch, a little bit of harmony and like dissonance, dissonant frequencies just here and there. So it's especially good if you put it on like a bass instrument and crank that tone all the way down. You can make some really crazy bass sounds with it, right? So the track starts out quite, calm and nice. It's meant to be a really lovely track about, the people that I love, right? And we're developing a little bit. Now these pianos here, right? Before the pandemic, I used to go to my university and just book out the microphones, because you can do that, and just record the pianos and play it all myself, because I am a piano player. I really like playing piano. But since the pandemic, I haven't been back to record any piano, and I probably should, now that lockdown restrictions are easing and now that I'm double vaccinated, in these last 2 months that I'm at uni, I should go and record some piano. But in the meantime, when I don't have access to a piano via a university, I use this. It's a free VST by Spitfire called Labs. There's loads of different sounds that you can download that are free. Some you have to pay for, but the piano one is completely free. And it's just this really nice soft piano that you can get a lot out of if you mix it really nicely in the track, Which is quite nice, right? And now we're going to suddenly transition from really nice and calm into really crazy. Now these synths here, right? I like the name of this Logic file right up here. It says Old Testament Angel. That was just the placeholder thing that I was naming this Logic file, which comes from my friend Dominic. Listened to my music and he really liked it, and he said, the best description I can give of this music, it sounds like what Old Testament angels look like. And I was like, oh my god, that's such a lovely description, thank you. But I really want to lean into that aesthetic, right? Otherworldly, kind of ancient, but kind of unlike anything you've ever seen. And in my head, what that sounds like is like this. It's just so crunchy and nice, and I really like this. What I like doing is layering synthesizers, right? So how I made this was, it's got 3 parts to it, right? We've got this preset here, which is just a sort of preset that comes with Logic, Quite nice. Then on top of that, we've got this little, something I made in that EFM1. And then on top of that is the secret ingredient, which is this really noisy synth I also made in EFM1. And the 3 of them together just make this really nice, crunchy sound, right? Yeah, in my head, when I think of some kind of weird Old Testament angel coming down from the sky, that's what I hear. So that's what I made, and I'm really happy with that, right? So then we return to that sort of calm bit from earlier, but we've got those drum sounds now. They're quite bubbly and nice. Now we're going back. If we mute those synthesizers, here's what's going on underneath that. So actually not like, if you count that as one synth, there's not actually a lot going on underneath that, but it sounds quite nice and full, which is what I'm trying to do lately, not just like overproduce and throw everything at the wall, which is what I often have been doing in the past, but rather kind of go, what are the vital elements that make up this track? Anything else that is nice, but not necessarily like super necessary, get rid of it. Especially working with singers, that is the biggest advice, is taking stuff away. You make a track with an artist and it's so overproduced and there's so much going on because you both come up with so many ideas, and you just need to take a moment and look at the Logic file and go, okay, what can we take away from this so that it sounds cleaner? And not cleaner so it's not overly messy, unless that is your goal. If you want to make it overly messy, perfect. If that's the vibe of the track, great. But if you don't want to do that, just take stuff away or move stuff later on in the track so that it gives chance for other parts of the track to breathe and stuff, right? Now, this next bit was inspired by the Bucephalus bouncing ball sort of competition rivalry between Autechre and Aphex Twin. The dun, 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 dun. Autechre made a track called Drain, which uses that effect. Aphex Twin made a track called Bucephalus bouncing ball, which kind of was like, hey, I see you, Autechre. I see what you're doing. I'm gonna like one-up you. And then Autechre made a track called Drain 2, which tried to one-up them. And it's really fun and nice. And what I did was, during the time that I was writing this bit of the track, I was moving house because a lot of my uni friends, like a lot of my best friends that I was living with, going to uni with them, they've all gone back home because they were doing an undergraduate degree. They finished months ago. I'm doing a master's degree. I don't finish till September or like October or whatever. So like, this song is about me missing them a lot, basically. And because I had like packed up my MIDI keyboard and stuff, and that's really the only, apart from my MIDI, I don't have much hardware gear because I don't have money, but I have a MIDI keyboard and some speakers, which I use to mix stuff on, as well as these headphones here. I really like mixing on these. And I packed all of that up. And so I was like, okay, I want to make this effect. Why don't I literally just plot it individually in MIDI, right? And what I found that was really interesting is, because usually I would try and play this on the piano. And what I found plotting it is that I didn't want to just repeat the same effect 8 times in a row, right? I wanted to make each time it does that effect to be slightly different. So, let's listen to it on its own, right? There we go. You get the gist. Each time it comes, it's slightly different. And that's what I like. It sounds like its own living, breathing thing, right? Let's keep listening. I really like those pianos there. Where is that? Is that this? Yeah. That's just a really nice melody. I was improvising and then just clicked record and that happened. It sounds very Donkey Kong Country, which is like the second Donkey Kong Country game is one of my favorite games ever. I'm definitely, I think, inspired by the soundtrack of those games. This is the big breakdown. I wanted to just make this crazy, I guess, chorus bit that was just so over the top and just so like, what's going on? But there actually isn't a lot going on here, which is which I'm happy. Like I didn't want to overload it with too many things. You've got the synths, which by this point I've changed the release and sustain time to be so short. It literally just sounds like knives. It just sounds like it's cutting. Like it's just so sharp, right? Way different to how it sounded earlier, right? And then you've got these arpeggios. This also I plotted entirely with MIDI because I didn't have my piano at the time. But yeah, it's really fun doing arpeggios, right? Because you have this chord sequence and you think to yourself, okay, the chords are cool, but how can I wrap this really cool melody around it that implies some more complicated chords? So like, you're using notes that aren't in the triad, and it's just really cool. Underneath that, the drums are very simple. It's distorted, right? Now this bit, this is the sort of crazy breakdown bit. This is my favorite part of this bit to like this is my favorite part of the track because it was just so much fun, right? Oh, here we go. This is something I made in VCV Rack, right? These bubbly sounds. Like, listen to this. Like, it's just so cool, right? Like, I made a little patch in a program that made that from like just a very simple like snare or something. It's sick. It's like, yeah. So then we've got some quite harsh like noise here. Oh, system overload. Just really fun, right? And then it just sort of like breaks down. Actually, no, this is my favorite bit. At this point, I had done all of this, right? And I was like, okay, how do I finish this song, right? Because I want to build back up to that chorus that happened earlier. I want to like do that again, right? But how do I even like connect this bit to that bit? And I thought to just have this really nice, like, sort of down-tempo moment with these really nice pianos. So let's listen to these pianos. I love this bit. It's crazy, right? Like, I look back on... because I've been making music since I was 12, and in my opinion, most of it's been pretty bad. Like, I'm not exactly, I'm not an artist who is one to, like, gloat, right? Because I just don't do that, and I get really self-conscious about the music I make, right? And I feel like this year specifically is the first time I've genuinely been, like, proud of what I've achieved. Like, every time I released, like, a song or an album in the past, I always just felt like, yeah, but this isn't really me, you know? This isn't really me. This isn't what I represent. And now it's like, wait, I'm actually really happy with this. Like, this is like this is what I had in my head, and I was able to put it into like my laptop. And that's cool. Like, it's nice that I have this bit of confidence now. And I feel like that confidence is what I needed, because everything I've been making lately has been really just like a lot better than what I have previously made, which is great. I love that. That's so like bouncy, right? Boom, 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 boom. All right, and I didn't want to just do the bouncing ball effect again. So we've got to have some kind of build-up section to the chorus, but let's just make it slightly different. You know, same synths, same like materials, but different chord sequence. Now this chorus here. Should I be calling these choruses if it's an instrumental track? I don't know. So I used to get like told off a lot in school. Like, if it doesn't have vocals, it's not a song, it's a track or a piece. And I was like, I'm just gonna keep calling it a song. I know the difference, but I don't know. I'm calling it a chorus, even if maybe the actual definition of a chorus is, oh, it has to have vocals or something. I don't know. It's the big bit, you know? This is the big bit of the track that I want to dance to, right? The only thing that's different in this one compared to the last one is that I start messing around with if I haven't even shown the automation yet, right? Here we go. I start messing around with the modulator wave. So let's listen to it, right? So that's as usual. There's also there's a little bit more reverb on this than there was earlier. See, this is why I love just FM synthesis. Like, I think that sounds so cool. Like, I really like that. Oh, another thing, right? That synth there. Let's listen to it. That comes from the same thing that I used to make that, and also just the bass line. Like, wait, not no. Is this it? No, that's not it. Basically, some of the more distorted bassy bits, I just went up a few octaves, and I was like, wait, this also works as a lead? That's great. That's very intentional as well. Going really high frequency and then bringing it all down to the bass, right? These arpeggios are just the same arpeggios from here, but put on in a different context. You know, it's a lot more sad now. I'm very happy with that bit. This is, yeah. So this has been Always Be With You. This is the Logic track. Hopefully I've explained how I made things. A few other bits of advice I would give. Like, if you're someone who, like, is intentionally trying to make lo-fi music, then this is irrelevant advice, right? But if you're someone who's trying to make a cleaner mix and master, and you're intentionally going for a cleaner sound, turn your stereo out quite down. I put it like at least -10. I leave myself a lot of headroom. It's kind of like the difference between, say, like Flying Lotus's Cosmogramma, which is so loud and so abrasive and so clipping all the time, but that works in the context, right? It sounds fantastic. Like, it has to be loud, right? But then his next album, Until the Quiet Comes, I think it's called, has a lot more headroom. It's a lot quieter. It's a completely different vibe, right? If you don't want your stuff to be really loud and distorted and clipping, if you want to do that, ignore all this advice, right? But if you're like, nah, I want my track to be quite clean, I want it to be quite polished, I don't want to make it too distorted and lo-fi, turn your stereo out down. That's what I usually do. I usually just turn it down regardless, and then if I want to intentionally make it really crunchy in the final master, I'll do that post, right? But that's just a little bit of advice I was told. Another bit of advice I was told, which a lot of singers do, is when you're like mixing and mastering, because this isn't my mix or master session, right? I had to bounce all of this down to different stems and do it a different way, right? But when I actually like mix and master stuff, because I'm not the best at mastering at all, but when it comes to mixing, I have a lot of experience, and I do find that like my mixes are like, they're adequate, you know, like people have complimented me on them, so I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing something right here. And what I just do is I don't like, if I'm like listening to the music and I'm starting to get distracted and I start looking at my phone, turn the music off. I don't remember who told me this, but someone just said to me, look, if you're ever like getting bored of the music and doing other things, you gotta stop. Don't have the music playing while doing other things. If you're in a room showing your music to someone and you're like mixing it with another person and you start having a conversation, pause the music for a minute. I do find it helps my head. Another thing, I like when I mix and master music, I really rely on the little, what are they called? Little nubbins, the little like blocks here to let me know how loud I'm listening to stuff. If you find you're mixing and mastering stuff and over the course of like an hour or 2 hours, you're constantly turning it up, you gotta go. You're suffering from listener's fatigue. You gotta take your headphones off, go on a walk for an hour, let your ears reset a little bit, because it becomes quite dangerous if you're constantly turning up your volume. I have very sensitive ears, so I'm really, like, my fear is not being able to listen to music and being like, because that's like my one skill in life. I can't do anything else, you know. So I always protect my ears, and if ever my ears are starting to get biased and they're starting to go, yeah, turn it up, I'm like, nah, we gotta go. We gotta take our headphones off, go out the door, go on a walk, let our ears reset, come back to it, and go back down, and just, yeah. So hopefully that's some good advice. Hope you enjoyed this video of me just rambling on about this track. So I'll see you all in the future, hopefully. Bye bye.